Hello and welcome to the Turn 4 podcast. I am your host, Dan Maldonado. This is your first time listening. Welcome. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. This podcast comes from two lifelong fans of IndyCar and other forms of motorsports. Before we get started, let me introduce you to my co-host, Tim Reiner. Hey, Timmy.
Hello, Dan.
Oh, God. The pause there made me feel like maybe the audio was bad again.
No, the audio is working fine. We had a little bit of a glitch earlier, but it's great. How are you? What's going
I'm
on?
good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm sorry that we're coming to this thing late. Had
It's
a
late.
rather busy weekend, a little work travel, and then getting back in. You had some travel taking you out of your home office there too. So this is our first
Yeah.
chance to do this, but hey,
Your
better late than never.
travel was much nicer than mine. Woo. Work travel to the Virgin Islands. That sounds really
Relatively
tough.
speaking, yeah. Yeah. Virgin Islands,
Yeah.
Toledo, Ohio.
Well, well, I had some family matters to
Right.
attend to. So Dan had a lot more fun. So uh, that's why we're coming to you later in the week, but that's okay.
I
We still got
realized
good stuff.
I'm, I'm coming to grips with my height, and I was able to swim across the pool and hang on the wall, like where the infinity pool thing kind of happens, and hang on the wall with my feet dangling at the bottom of
Oh,
not even being able to touch the bottom of this pool. It was wonderful.
it was like 4.5 feet deep.
Yeah. Like give or take. Give or take. It was in meters, so it might have translated to about 4.5 feet.
Well, that's good. I know you always claim to be taller than you are, and we've got an
Who doesn't?
ongoing joke about that, but that's
Who
okay.
doesn't, Tim?
You know what? I was just at the doctor and I got my height, and I was almost what you always claimed to be.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I
That's okay though.
was.
Okay.
I was, Dan. I was 3 inches away from your said height.
So what, you're 5'6"?
No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no. Five seven
Anything more than
nine.
that, and they were being kind. A
No,
little
I even had
late.
to take my shoes off. My shoes were even off on this one. I'm serious.
So proud.
Maybe the lady wasn't paying
Five,
attention. I don't know.
6.5. The
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I am looking forward. Talk a little Formula One with you, and then of course we'll talk about the GMR Indy GP, which we will be at live and in person.
We will.
I'm excited.
In the
I went
flesh, we'll
last
be
year. It was
there.
fun. What's that?
Did you get the shirts that you sent me?
No, I have an
Oh,
idea for that. We're going to talk
okay.
about post production.
All right, very good.
Um, I think we should do this Formula One thing because there's really not a lot of talk about the race because the race was typical Formula One. I mean, Max
Yeah.
came from ninth to finish first, and that was kind of exciting, but I don't think anybody in the world thought that that was not going to happen. But except for maybe one guy, and we're going to talk about that. But let's do like PTI. We'll just run it down like by subject.
Yeah, let's do it.
You ready?
I'm all for it.
So,
Yeah.
one thing I do want to talk about, Sir Jackie Stewart is apparently not a VIP. I don't know if you have seen
How's
this
that
video.
possible?
I know, right? Jackie Stewart
Yeah.
at a Formula One race,
Yeah.
not a VIP. So apparently the Miami security into the VIP section right before the driver intros, which we're going to talk about,
Hmm.
they wouldn't let Jackie through. But Roger Federer was there, the actual Roger Federer, not James Marsden, who was erroneously identified as Roger Federer later on in the broadcast.
Yeah, you're talking about the tennis guy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they wouldn't let
Okay.
Jackie through, but they let Roger Federer through, and thank God for Martin Brundle and Roger Federer. So, how embarrassing! But
They
I
got
would
Sir
have been
Jackie
livid,
in.
and yeah, Sir Jackie handled it well. I would
All you
have.
gotta do is look for the plaid pants, right? You should
No
just
kidding, in
swing
the
there.
hat. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Just come
Yeah.
on in. You know who you are. Well, obviously the
Now let
security wasn't briefed on who people are.
exactly, but I'm going to give them a little bit of I'm going to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, right? I don't care who you are, you should wear your hard card. Don't assume everybody knows who you are. These
Yeah,
are
that is true.
rent-a-cops for the weekend. They don't will probably watch Formula One. They don't care about Formula One. They certainly didn't watch it in the 60s.
Yes.
So,
And I saw that some
wear your hard
people
card,
like
Jackie.
had like 15 hard cards to get places. Like it was like an assortment of lanyards walking around the
Yeah,
place.
it was something weird like, this allows you here, this allows you there. So,
Yeah.
Just do it
So
like
if you have
IndyCar, right?
none,
This is
you
what you
just
got to
kind
get everywhere, and this is what you got to get here. That's it.
of
So
yeah, pretty crazy.
driver intros was kind of a little more of a polarizing situation there. It was much different. I will tell you, Will I Am was conducting the orchestra, and it was the Formula
Mm,
One theme. Um, and then
nice.
LL Cool J was doing the intros of drivers.
You gotta love LL Cool J. He fits
Yeah.
right with the F1 mold, in my opinion.
Are you crazy?
When I saw it was him, I was like, this is gonna be great, right? It's gotta be.
Well,
I don't
you know, it's
know.
funny. I didn't see it because I didn't go back to watch the race until closer to race time because I didn't need to see all that, all that build up.
All the
I didn't care
hoopla.
to really, but I
Hmm.
I watched it on YouTube and it's a bit much. It really is.
I
Jeremy
I wasn't.
Clarkson replied to something on or tweeted something, and then I kind of replied to it, and then Alex Pillow tweeted that he loved it, and I replied to Alex Pillow saying apparently Jeremy Clarkson doesn't. I'll have to watch or something. I tweeted that, and then a little while later there was like all this negative feedback, and I was like apparently Jeremy Clarkson's not in the minority. So
Alex Pillow is.
yeah. So I think it's a bit much. I really do. I think it was just unnecessary, and probably the drivers who are a little bit more pampered than they are in other series. That's fact. They did do that track roll where they ride around and wave to the crowd and everything. We've seen that when we were in
Oh
Coda and
yeah,
all
for
that. They
sure.
did do that, and then 2 hours later they were doing this before getting out to their
Wow.
cars. So to them,
Yeah, I heard
it's
about
out of the
disruption
routine.
of their
Yeah,
mindset.
yeah,
Yeah, and this and that. Whatever. My opinion is suck it up and do it if that's what the promoters want to do, and if it,
yeah. If they're paying the bills,
gets the fans excited about it.
Mhm.
You got people that are paying tons of money to be there, but
Yeah,
LL Cool J, I don't know, doesn't seem
yeah,
to fit to me. So
yeah.
is what it is.
So you were aware Max kind of got blocked out of qualifying because of Charles Leclerc's accident.
Well, you got to get your banker lap in,
You got
as
to
they
get your
call it
banker
in
lap
IndyCar.
in. Checo
And he
got
didn't
his
have
banker
it,
lap in. Yep. And
and Max didn't, and he didn't
right,
get to do a second run.
right.
They
So
said it was windy, right? It was windy in qualifying, but there's no
only one guy
reason not
wrecked.
to get your banker lap in.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Only one guy wrecked. And yeah, it was windy, but apparently the
Yeah,
Ferrari's kind of susceptible to wind gusts.
yeah.
Um, Nonetheless, uh,
Apparently,
Charles wrecked, goes red flag. Max doesn't get a chance at a qualifying lap. Checo starts on pole with Fernando Alonso alongside,
I
and
know.
Carlos Sainz third. So
Yeah.
I, with Checo starting on pole and Max starting in ninth, did you think at all that there was a shot that Checo would take victory here?
Oh yeah. I
You
thought he
did?
would. Yeah, I thought he'd win this thing.
Oh wow.
I'm thinking street course. I'm thinking hard to pass, except there is that long straightaway and you get
Yeah.
DRS and you just kind of drive by. So that was the thing I really didn't take too much into consideration, was that long straightaway. But after the fact, I did. But I was surprised when I did see that Max was leading the race and it was 20 some laps in, but that was with pit strategy. But if you stay out for 40 some laps, whatever Max did, and then you come in and pit, you still have to pass Checo to take the lead. And he was able to on fresher tires. It's my
Yeah.
understanding of how that sort of went down. So
Yeah.
I thought Checo had a chance, a pretty good. I thought he had near 70-75% chance to win that
Oh
race.
yeah. That's
And
pretty good.
maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe I'm with Alex Pillow.
I don't I, I don't know that I disagree with you necessarily. Um I don't know that I disagree with you necessarily on any of that. I really thought that passing opportunities would have been a little bit more difficult for Max, and Max probably would have burned up his tires to begin with, and that just wasn't the case. I mean, he just knifed through that field. I mean, in those DRS sections, there's no stopping the Red Bull. It's Red Bull on Red Bull. I mean, that's really the only competition there in the DRS zones.
Yeah.
Otherwise, forget it. Nobody stands a
Yeah.
chance.
He was
So,
overtaking two cars at
mm,
once, is my understanding.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, um, So yeah, he pulls out the win there. Fernando Alonso, good again after a poor result in Baku. Third place finish, another third place finish. I asked you this before, Tim. Aston Martin getting a win on merit or in a race of attrition?
Attrition only. I don't think there's any way you're going to beat a Red Bull.
If the Red Bulls crash each other out, that's how
That's
Aston
attrition. You
wins
get
this
you,
thing.
yeah, you got a chance then, but I think you'll still have some competition there. But overall, yeah, I think that's the only way you're going to get the win this year.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be straight Mary. You're not going to outrun them. Nobody's going to
No,
outrun them.
not right now. Right. I mean, they'd have to really take a huge step
Yeah.
forward in some sort of, early season development here.
Mhm.
And with that said, I mean, it's kind of natural where you have to talk about development. You got to talk about the teams and how teams are shaking out. Tim, I'm surprised Ferrari is in fourth place in the Constructors' Championship. I mean, if you take a look at it, Red Bull 224 versus Aston at 102, and only 6 points behind is Mercedes. So as catastrophic a season as Mercedes is having in this, they're going to have to change the philosophy of the car, and there's a major, philosophy change
Yeah.
coming at Imola, which is the next race. They're 6 points behind Aston, which is like the darling of the season, right?
Mhm.
And they're 18 points ahead of Ferrari.
Yeah.
How,
And you
how
don't
is
hear the
that even
same.
possible?
I don't know. Better results, obviously, better finishes,
Yeah.
uh, but the other side of that is Ferrari. You know, Leclerc not finishing some races potentially.
Yeah.
It's something's going on there, and I don't feel like it's the same sense of urgency at Ferrari as it is at Mercedes. And even though Mercedes is obviously in third in the points championship and Ferrari is fourth, that I don't know. It just seems like Mercedes has been so dominant. So I think there's just a lot more talk about Mercedes and getting to that point to where they can compete week in and week out with Red Bull. And Ferrari has always been sort of lately sort of third fiddle to those two teams.
Yeah.
That's just the way it's sort of played out. So
And
yeah, it's
windows
just a
close.
bad situation there.
Yeah. And windows close on Formula One drivers. I don't know how old Charles Leclerc is, but windows close on Formula One drivers and opportunities sort of wane a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Charles Leclerc, I guess you have to ask yourself, first of all, is he a championship caliber driver?
So yeah, for sure.
It
Prone to some
I
mistakes, but I
so
think he
I
is.
don't. I don't think he is. And I think part of it is some of these mistakes, right? I think he's been around long enough. He drove for Sauber before he was at Ferrari, and the Ferrari is decent, right? They've got some quality issues, but I think some of the I think some of the carnage is Charles Leclerc's carnage. So I'm not certain I agree with you that he is. I'm also starting to wonder, what his runway is at Ferrari if they
Yeah.
want to continue along. The other side of that is, who do you get, right? Are you able to take Lando Norris from McLaren? Because George Russell isn't going anywhere. Lewis Hamilton's not going anywhere, and I don't,
Mm-hmm.
Fernando Alonso's not going back to Ferrari. Why would he? They're, he's on third place now almost every race. So,
Yeah.
who do you
Yeah.
get there?
Yeah.
Maybe
Which,
maybe Colton Herta, right? Maybe he finally
yeah,
finishes
you
in the
bring
top three, gets
someone
his
in,
super
right?
license or whatever, and he's
Mm-hmm.
able to come along. But I just don't see who else you get. But I'm not convinced he's the man either.
Makes me laugh that Herta,
Yeah, I
just
know.
because of the whole Brad Pitt thing makes me laugh.
Yeah,
Getting super license, things of that sort, the commentary on that thing.
right. So Christian Horner had to come out after this weekend for whatever reason. He felt compelled to do this, to say that both Red Bull drivers are aware of the situation on track and strategy and what's going on, and everybody gets the same level of information. You buying that?
No,
Me neither.
I don't buy that.
Nope.
Not
You
at
know
all.
why? I'll tell you especially why I don't buy it. Because Christian Horner felt compelled to come out and say it. Right? On these broadcasts, we have a lot.
Yeah.
We don't have more than half probably of the information that's out there, but we have enough. We have enough to know that that Max and his strategists are talking way more than Checo and his strategists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fernando Alonso's having
And
full blown conversations with his strategists while racing at 180 miles an hour.
I heard
He's
about that.
watching the damn jumbotron to watch, Lance make
Watching other people pass, right?
make a pass for 28th place or something.
It was 13th.
Yeah, that's why I don't buy it. Whatever, give or take.
Yeah, radio back. Say
Yeah.
congratulations on the pass.
Yeah. I got a couple of big deal for you. Alpine,
All right.
the CEO of Alpine, complaining about the return on investment in this racing team to the media. Is that a big deal or a big deal?
It's a big deal. Like, quit your complaining. There's enough. You get enough money as it is. Like, how much do you want your hands in the cookie jar? I don't.
Hey, with the cost cap, they've got to be, they've got to be in a much better situation. That's the premise of it. Number one, and number two, you're not going to be outspent by $100 million by Red Bull and Mercedes. So suck it up.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get this kind of exposure anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Imola is next. As I mentioned earlier, Mercedes will be bringing a significant upgrade that Toto Wolff's already starting to kind of water down a little bit. Well, it's going to be, whatever. That a big deal or big deal?
Big deal.
I think it's a big deal.
No. What? So you can maybe take Alpine? Maybe you're not.
Maybe
you're still not going to catch Red Bull.
No, but here's the thing. Yeah, but you've got to get back on a track of being able to track down Red Bull, right? And at least the Aston Martin, they've got to be able to get back on track. The philosophy of this car, the setup of this car, the window is just not there. And they've got to get back into some sort of philosophy that will get them some flexibility and into a window to be able to fight at least Aston Martin and maybe occasionally the Red Bull.
It's only a big deal if it's significant. You'd say it's significant. Maybe there's a lot of changes. You've done a lot of wind tunnel stuff. It's going to happen. Ferrari did the same thing in Miami. They brought a whole new under tray into that car.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal. Didn't help them at all, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So if it's a flop like Ferrari's is, then it is what it is.
Yeah. And if you haven't figured that out by now, Max wins from 9th. Checo finishes 2nd, which frankly they should be 1 and 2 the whole season. And Fast Freddy finishes 3rd. Watching TV and popcorn and
in that order, 1, 2.
I think interchangeable. I think Checo gets 1 or 2 more wins. I think. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Right. So he doesn't win the championship.
No, God no.
There you go.
That's the PTI F1 segment, boys and girls. Coming up next is the GMR Grand Prix preview.
Yeah, let's talk some IndyCar. Can't wait. Woo!
I know.
Excited.
Tim, this event is historically a Penske event. I mean, they have 8 wins and they've got an equal number of poles. And, that's, of course, led by...
That's a lot.
I know. Will Power at one track. Will Power is leading the way on that one. Is it going to be a Penske race again, or do you believe someone or some other team has a real shot? Don't answer that. Don't answer. I'm going to give you a few other considerations here. I already mentioned Penske.
All right.
Colton Herta won here last year, this particular race, in fact, in wet conditions. We could see some wet conditions this year. Alexander Rossi won the fall event. I keep calling it the fall event, but I don't think it's fall. It's just late summer, I guess.
It is late summer, yeah.
Last year, Timmy, do you remember who finished 2nd? Colton Herta won. Do you remember?
I do not.
How about 3rd?
I don't.
How about this one? I'll give you extra points if you tell me who finished 5th.
I can tell you who finished 5th because I looked it up.
I know you can. So just for the listeners, second place went to Simon Pagenaud. Third place went to Will Power, right? The master of this track. Marcus Ericsson finished fourth. I know I didn't call that one out. And fifth place went to our friend Connor Daly.
Wow, that's a big surprise on that one.
Yeah.
It was pretty nasty out, wasn't it, though?
It was nasty. Connor, I think, was the one that was sort of leading the commentary behind the aero screen and the problems with the wet, right? It not evacuating the rain like it was supposed to. So this is all a long way of me just saying, I don't think it matters. I don't think last year's results matter at all. In fact, first because of the rain, right? I don't. Yep. It didn't look to me like it's going to rain. It could possibly be wet, but it's not going to. I don't think we're going to get rain like we did last year.
Yeah, there's a chance of storms, so potentially.
Right. Okay, that's an update. So that's good to know. That's good to know. But nonetheless,
yeah, I saw like a 58%. I'm not a weatherman, but I saw 58% chance of showers, and the race is late in the day, so that's when thunder showers typically pop up. But if there's thunder showers, you're gonna go red during that, and then you're gonna go when it's probably still wet if it turns into that event. So that could play some role into the race.
It could, and rain always, is a reshuffle of the deck, so to speak.
Yep.
That's the first reason why.
And back in the day, it was the great equalizer, but these cars are so equal today that I don't think it's really that same sort of sense of comes down to just, obviously the driver skill needs to be there, but there was more discrepancy in cars back in the days, so they always called it the great equalizer. And so I don't think it has the same impact. I like your analogy that it's kind of reshuffling the deck. You're just reshuffling it back up and putting it back out there. Again, it requires skill, but
second reason I'll tell you is I feel like this is a different field than last year. If you look at the results from top to bottom last year, there's some change there, right? There's some guys that are gone. There's some guys that are on new teams. But one of those is Rossi at Aero. I think that's going to be a big deal. Aero's had good cars here. Penske is still strong, and there's no and we've seen how strong Scott McLaughlin's been, how strong Newgarden's been, just a little unlucky. And Will Power just continues to be very strong and methodical and smart out there. And then you add, right, the Andretti cars. 3 out of 4, and that's not a shot, but that's just fact, right? 3 out of 4 of the Andretti cars, which they were not there. Shank is a little behind this year, so I don't see like a miraculous step up happening just because it's the Indy Road Course. And
they did well last year. Yep.
Can you count out Ganassi, who, Tim, last year was a 3 out of 4 effort. This year is a 4 out of 4 effort with Ganassi.
It sure is. Yeah.
The field is different. And
no, I don't. It's so hard to pick in this series, man. It seems like there's dozens of drivers that have a dozen drivers that have a chance to win this race.
Totally agree. Yep, totally agree.
Yeah.
So now let me ask you again. Is it going to be a Penske race again? If not, who you got?
No.
Win,
it's not
dark
going to be.
Horse.
No, it's not going to be a Penske event.
No.
It is going to be a Penske event from a ownership of the track, but not from on track activity. So that little difference. It's going to be several teams that'll be up there. Really, a couple teams that'll be up there. So I've got, when you look at pole, you look at that place. I've got Rossi on pole. I think Arrow McLaren and the team gets it together. I think you got pure power in the Chevy engine. And so you get Rossi up there winning the pole. For winning the race, I've got your guy, one of your guys that you predicted that was going to get a win this year. So I got a first-time winner, someone that's finished second in multiple races. I got Romain Grosjean winning this thing and bringing it to victory lane. So I think what we've seen out of Andretti, how they performed, had really strong cars that I believe at Barber, that'll continue and it'll carry on over to the race on Saturday. And he gets his first victory after being very patient and several second place finishes. And then dark horse, my dark horse was originally, without looking at the results from last year, was going to be Connor Daly. I don't know why. I just had this weird
Is
feeling.
that who you're picking?
But that's not the person I chose.
Oh, okay.
The person I actually picked for
I'm
this
always writing
is
in pencil.
your guy,
Oh,
is
Jack
your
Harvey?
guy, Jack Harvey.
For real?
I think Jack Harvey is going to have a breakthrough race. I think Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan figured something out in Barber Motorsports Park, and they are going to carry that over to the other two cars. And you're going to see RLL do really well at this event, and not just Lundgaard, but I believe Harvey's going to do some carving through the field from a good qualifying position.
Love it.
That's who I got.
We're going to put a pin in that because we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. So I'll give you my picks. I didn't put my picks in the notes because you asked me not to, so I have them written in here.
Yeah.
And you'll be...
I'm going to write them down. Can't wait.
Yeah. You're going to love this. So Scotty Mack on pole. Similar to what you said, right? Chevy Power. I think this is a power track.
Well, why don't we ask you this before you go too much farther? Because this is going to be a Penske race, in your opinion, Dan? It looks like it's starting off that way. So we'll have to see where it goes.
It isn't.
Oh, look at that. It's not.
It's not.
You got Scotty Mack on the pole. Keep going.
I have Romain Grosjean as our winner.
I have the this is why I don't like you to put your picks down.
I have the same winner. Here's the part that I think is absolutely hysterical. I have two things written down. Dark horse, Christian Lundgaard. But I also have written down top 15 qualifying for Jack Harvey.
Very interesting.
Yes.
See, we think alike. That's very we have the same observations that take place during a race event and process them pretty closely. The difference being pole position here, but otherwise we're pretty lockstep.
Yeah. Interesting. It is interesting, right? We both picked Grosjean, and then we both picked RLL car as a dark horse. That would definitely be a dark horse one if either one of those guys pulled out the win here.
Yeah, for sure.
To see. I think though, by and large, I think RLL should have a better qualifying weekend. And I know that sounds funny to say, well, top 15 did, and that's really not that great. And it's like, well, it is, because Penske's 3, Ganassi's going to be 4, right? Aaron McLaren's another 3. That's 10, right? So,
Andretti,
and then
on top of
Andretti, that's 13. It's kind of like you're fighting for the top maybe 10 through 15. If you look at it, right? If you look at it from those areas.
And they are so close.
Yeah.
So close. You're just off a 10th and you're down the field. Yeah.
Before we move on, I got something new actually that I was able to add here to the show. I want to mention that I still feel like this race is largely overlooked. Because everything I see in a lot of the podcasts that I've listened to, and I listen to a lot of these IndyCar podcasts, they're all talking about Indy already. Right? There isn't anybody really talking much about this GMR Grand Prix. Even the official hashtag, which we got from the media communications from IndyCar, indicated that the hashtag is "This is May." So and May is really associated with the Indy 500. But so. New, I dialed in for 15-ish minutes to Colton Herta's virtual press or media availability yesterday, and got dialed into that. That was pretty cool, Tim. That was pretty cool because, we don't say it in the intro anymore, but we do kind of pride ourselves on not being insiders. We are not insiders, right? We're not Nathan Brown. We're not Jennifer Fryer. We're not those folks. Sort of pop salesman with a podcast, but it was cool to be there because you were, I was there with Jack Benyon from the race, and Nathan Brown and David Mulcher Lopez from Motorsport, Bruce Martin, so it was really cool to be on there. I didn't ask any questions. I didn't go on camera. I just had my picture, the Jeep picture the one which is our Zoom and our profile
The
picture.
one on our website. Yep.
Yeah, the
Yep.
IndyCar 1909 website. But so I dialed in with them. I'm just going to hit these notes real quick. So they asked about having Scott on the radio versus his dad. And Colton said, really hasn't changed too much, not too big of an adjustment. I think he's being kind there. I'm sure it's a pretty big adjustment. And it says, what's it like to win at IMS? Somebody asked. And Colton's response was, haven't done it the right way yet. Which, again, kind of like diminishes, what the GMR Indy GP is, right? And it's like, but you won it, dude.
For sure.
I mean, yeah, everybody wants to win the 500, but it's really great. And then I got the premise of this question was, what would you do to improve, presumably, the team? And the reason why I say presumably the team is because Colton's answer was, being able to improve on short ovals. So we know that their street race setup has been pretty good. They looked really good at Barber. And he went immediately to short ovals, which you've got 3 great opportunities with short ovals after Indy, with 2 at Iowa and then Gateway. But I thought that was interesting, and he did say that they're going to test. They're going to test at Gateway and they're going to test at Iowa. So that's interesting. And then he just kind of specifically called out that he didn't think they had too much concern about tire wear on those road or street courses. So
and that's important, right? If tires go off, you're falling back in the field pretty quickly. And we saw some of that with some of the drivers, that they were falling back. Yeah. So if you can manage tire wear in this series, you can stay competitive and where you're at in the field, and you can make up spots. So that's an important thing.
Yeah. Tim, Colton is the youngest guy on the team, but he's the most tenured guy on the team.
Wow.
And he was asked, with Rossi gone, how does being the veteran on the team feel? Right. And he said he likes having Kyle there, and he talked a lot about the dynamic is great, and the cars are fast and things like that. So he was very complimentary about the dynamic amongst the teammates.
And I think that's hugely important, and I think that's part of the reason what you're seeing Andretti's resurgence to the front of the field is that they're getting along, they're talking, they're setting up cars that most every driver likes, and they're finding ways to get to the top of the field. And so those minute adjustments to these cars is going to get you to the front. And if the drivers are talking and helping each other out, it greatly helps the engineers as they debrief with each other to talk about setups and where they're going.
Right. He talked about, the potential to turn around his championship, which he's sort of lagging a bit, especially his teammates, right? Grosjean and Cal Kirkwood. Talked about turning around his championship hopes here with a good kickoff to May. And, he's super comfortable. He's never been slow there. So, and he's right. I mean, so good things could happen. This is actually his longest win drought. And someone asked him, how annoying is it? Right? Does it make you sad to see Grosjean scoring poles and Kirkwood's win? And he did say it's kind of annoying basically to have a year without a win.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. These guys are super competitive. We talk about that. They're always wanting to win.
Yeah. And we've talked about this. We even talked about it in the last episode. What have you seen so far, Honda versus Chevy? And, power, fuel, anything on the speedway. He said he didn't see anything on power. He didn't think he saw anything on power. He said he feels like Hondas look a little better on fuel, which I would agree. And they asked him, he's struggled a little bit at the 500, and does he feel good about it this year? And, he said he needs to start hammering some results, and, IMS owes him nothing. I mean, we've only have 1 or 2 top 10s at the 500. So, it's going to be hard. He did say this because they were talking about
his rookie year there. It was his rookie year that he went out early, a couple laps in. The car stopped working, and it was just like, you do all this work for the Indy 500,
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then you're going out 2 laps in or a few laps in, and he finished. Um, it was out. He was out in turn 4 and got out of the car, and that was the end of his day after all that preparation. So he's again, they've been fairly quick at Indy, but yeah, his luck has not been very good at the 500 for sure.
2019 he finished 33rd.
Yeah,
2020 he finished 8th. 2021 he finished 16th, and 22 he finished 30th.
yeah. And there was a lot of hype of him going to the Indy 500 that first year.
Yeah.
I remember the car was white and green, and he was quick, and then the car just broke on him. Just didn't work. I think it was like a gearbox or something, I think, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah, it's possible.
That was my joke. Because you could never say it was
Yeah.
the engine.
Yeah. I think you're right though. I mean, um he holds a lot of promise. I think it's one of those things where I always feel like he hasn't lived up necessarily to the promise that everybody else has for him. Part of that I think is the team, but I think with how the team looks this year, there's no excuse anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right? If
She said he's still the youngest one on that team.
but he's also the longest tenured.
I know. So
Yeah,
means he's still got a lot of promise,
yeah.
and
He's well
they
ahead
will
of
come.
his age and years. I mean, I think he's extremely mature, very methodical, smart kid.
Yeah, it's weird
Yeah,
hearing you say veteran. He's the
yeah.
veteran as being
He's
the
23
veteran, but
years
that's
old,
how the
born in
question was posed,
2000.
right?
Born in 2000. Tim.
Jeez,
Yeah,
wow,
we
good for
are
him.
25 years older than him.
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess you sort of dial that in and go, wow, he's still got a lot to do, and I just kind of look at others that are at his age of people that I'm close to and go, they've grown a lot, they've matured a lot over the years, and they're doing a lot of good things. So no reason he can't be at that young age, and let him do it. I think he's going to be. It could be his day at the Grand Prix again, but maybe it'll be at the 500 too.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, anything can happen, right? You got to run the race. Um, they did
Yep.
talk a lot about the relationship with teammates and things like that, and he mentioned this, and I thought this was pretty cool. He said, everybody's very transparent and they share information. Everybody asks questions. Nobody really holds anything back. But he said, and I quoted it in the notes. He said, It was hard to manage Jack Harvey there, being the IMS Road Course, when he was a teammate." Right? I mean, Jack's
That's
had
interesting.
a very lean career at RLL. But what that tells
Mhm.
you is somebody who was a teammate of his before he made the change from Shank to RLL knew that on this course he was somebody that he was going to have to be on the watch out for.
Yeah, very
Right.
interesting.
Apparently he lives in Nashville now. He moved from LA to Nashville. Didn't know that, but can't say I blame him.
Hey, he's got a band, so you got to do
Yeah.
something, right? You got to
Taxes,
have a
climate,
second gig.
closer to the home base, right? In Indy. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty slick. You didn't
down the
see
street from
the
New Garden.
Yeah. You didn't see the I keep wanting to call it Drive to Survive, man. 100 Days to Indy, and they
100 days
showed his
in.
house. It was empty, right? It was just a mattress on the floor and boxes everywhere. So they
Oh, I
really
love it.
caught him at a time when
I can't wait
he
to
was
see
just
it.
getting there. Yeah. Um, like I said, was on that call for about 15 or so minutes, maybe 15, 20 minutes. Glad to be invited to these. And I'll do my best to dial in as much as I can, and maybe, I'll get the nerve to ask a question or two. But I want to give a shout out to Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon will be making his 310th consecutive start, which is the second longest streak in IndyCar history. This will also be, and I don't know how these numbers reconcile. This will also be Scott's 350th start with Chip Ganassi Racing,
Wow,
which is
that's a
amazing,
lot. Yeah, that's
right?
totally amazing.
Average season's about what, 16 races, right? It's 20 years
Yeah, it's a long time.
with same team.
He still got it.
Yeah, and they do.
He's
They
still got it.
definitely
He's still
have
pretty
it.
quick.
So
Who's got the longest streak, Dan?
I don't know. Do you?
I don't.
If I had to guess, I would probably say Mario Andretti.
That's would be my guess too.
Yeah.
Have to check
If
that
you know
out.
who it is, or Spencer, I know you're going to watch this. And let us know who it is, because I bet you Spence knows.
Yeah,
At our webmaster at IndyCar1909.com. I am certain that Spencer knows, and if not, Chef Brian probably knows. For sure. So,
yeah.
speaking of IndyCar 1909, as I always say, make sure that you're checking in IndyCar1909.com. Make sure you're checking in regularly, especially as we get closer to the 500. Lots of cool and interesting reads there. You can also find IndyCar 1909 on Facebook as well. So Spencer keeps up with that pretty good. Also, another new YouTube subscriber, Frank Root. Welcome to the team, Frank.
Keeps growing. Yeah.
Timmy, that's
growing.
the only one I saw. I don't know if you saw anybody else in the notes there, but if you have more, let us know. But
yeah, no, I don't know of anybody else, but I know it's been growing quite a bit over the last few weeks. So we appreciate you subscribing and listening and giving us your comments. I think that's the most fun and responding to those. So if you didn't hear last week's commentary with Dan talking about RLL, I think you should tune into that portion of it, because some of the listeners got a kick out of it.
Out of the analogy. That was fun.
Yes,
I made that up.
A very good analogy
on the fly. I don't know where any of this stuff comes from. But if I don't write it down, it ain't gonna get captured, because I don't have that level of attention span. So.
Yeah.
Timmy, that's all I got. You look very dark now, Timmy.
Yeah, the sun is setting here, and I don't have my normal setup here in my office, so I'm limited on lighting. So I can. That's funny you mentioned that, because I said I would tilt this as the evening goes on to get a little light. It's like moonlight here, so
yeah.
I'll have my regular setup, I think, back by the time we're back from the GMR Grand Prix, which I am excited to do.
Yeah, so am I. Should be a good weekend. It's going to be kind of an in and out, but that's fine. And you know what? All the moms and all the moms that listened, we're gonna wish a happy Mother's Day too, because in just a few days here we'll be celebrating moms, and I think we should be celebrating moms all the time. I think the universe is difficult sometimes in our dear companions and mothers of our children, and our wives.
Yeah.
So
and you and I know we got to get back for that, so that's why it's a quick trip, but it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it'll be really good. As always, thanks for listening. That's all I got, Timmy. How about you?
That's all I got too, Dan. It's so good to see you again and chat after you made it back from the Virgin Islands. So welcome back.
It was fun. St. Martin. So thanks everybody for listening. We look forward to your comments as always in the YouTube channel or on Twitter or even direct messages, which I do get on occasion as well. So we always do our best to try to respond to those. Be sure to check out enhanced content with IndyCar1909.com. And, we'll be walking around IMS here in just a few days. Look for Tim and all the McLaren gear bags. So.
Yeah, that'd be my
souvenir
kids,
trailer
so.
pretty hard.
Not this time.
Yeah. Thanks everybody. Catch you next week.
Good night.